Now we can proceed for our next plenary session for today's event. No, perhaps we can also prepare no our lunchtime. Now for our third speaker, Mr. Miguel Dodoy Balansag, driving businesses modernization through effective HR solutions. So again, as a way to increase productivity, many modern companies are beginning to outsource or offshore this function. However, the fear of outsourcing increases also as they need and the feel to hand over responsibilities and the fear of disconnection because of the less managerial control. So in this session, Mr. Mikel Balansag will break the fear, doubts, and way to maximize HR solutions opportunity when presented. So Mikel is a multi-licensed HR leader and Lean Six Sigma and Design Thinking certified. He is also the CEO and managing partner of Circle Logical Group, the leading multi-awarded HR and training company in the Philippines. Mikel is also among the top 100 Filipinos on LinkedIn for 2019 and 2020 to follow. So he also the board secretary of the Clark Human Resources Council in 2018 to 2019. So prior to joining Circological Group, he held various critical HR leadership roles at Alpha Aviation Group, Sutherland, and JP Morgan Chase and Corp and Co. in the field of performance improvement, employee and labor relations, talent acquisition, and business continuity. He has a thorough understanding of HR and labor practices in the Philippines and also in Vietnam and Cambodia, and holds a degree in business administration and is currently taking up Bachelor of Law. So to show us how to maximize opportunities, we have Mr. Mikel Balansag. Good day, Mr. Mikel Balansag.
Hi, Jester. Hi, everyone. It's really nice to be here. I've been watching from the website since 9 a.m. today, and really great topics from Annalisa, from Boris, and that great topic as well from Globe. Should I proceed with sharing my screen?
Yeah, we can start doing the share screen.
All right. All right. So yeah, again, it's lunchtime, everyone. Feel free to grab your lunch, or if you can wait just a little longer, no. I promise to make it short and sweet. Siguro mga 30 minutes lang, to make sure that I also help you. We're all HR practitioners, and I feel the challenges that we all have last year, and we still have it this year. So thanks to free assemblies like Philippine HR Assembly, we get to get together like-minded individuals, HR leaders, to share their best practices, how they do things in their respective organizations, to within the hope to help you um, do things as well internally in your respective company. So for my topic for this lunchtime, is driving business modernization through effective HR solutions. So if you're an HR manager, you'll likely agree that the landscape of HR has changed dramatically, especially yung mga those who have been in HR for XX number of years. No, things have changed dramatically last decade, this decade, actually even in the last year. Significant shifts can be seen in the delivery of HR-related services. Yung traditional models natin have been replaced with more modern ones. The wave of modernization impacting the delivery of HR management services has become increasingly evident, affecting not just HR managers, pero the businesses as a whole. And here's a common scenario, especially for small and medium enterprises. You'll hear your boss or your boss will tell you na, okay, we're too traditional. Let's prioritize or professionalize rather HR. So here you are as an HR waiting for innovation, to introduce innovation to your company and how everything can be more effective and efficient. You present options for modernization, for innovation to your boss. And so nag comparative report ka, you ask for proposals, you had meetings with multiple vendors. And then when you present to your boss, ang sabi ng boss, we don't have the budget right now. This is a very common scenario. So, ikaw na HR, you'll have this face. So, we want to modernize things, we want to introduce innovation. And of course, innovation comes at a price. Pero, looking at the budget, hindi talaga kakayanin. That's the purpose of the discussion for today. How do we position it? And what are the things that we need to look out for to introduce innovation and how it can help, or kung makapag-help ba talaga. Technological innovation is by far the largest driving force behind modernization of HR services. Hindi ka makapag-modernize ng current practices, ng current facets, processes ng HR mo without technology. It's almost impossible. We see many solutions offering smart technology that is able to anticipate what you need, what HR managers need. And as the consumeration of IT continues to infiltrate HR, it's evident that personalization of solutions has become a bare minimum expectation. Per company, iba-iba talaga tayo ng requirement. We do things differently based on our industry, based on the size of our company, based on the culture of the company. So there's really no parang box type, kumbaga, kasi we need to personalize it in such way na it will help us um, be more productive. So we've seen an increase in collaboration and social tools, mga reference checking, social media networking during job search. No, nagbago yan as opposed to how we do job search a decade ago or 2 decades ago. There's also, I've learned just this year, e-coaching, which allows employees online access to content relevant to job searching, and they can chat online with the coach. So this is very present right now during pandemic. What we really need to focus on is embracing change. We need to focus on change management, put more emphasis today on change management and adoption, because lack of change management is a common reason why the efforts to roll out a new system or organizational structure are challenged, kasi they're not willing, your leadership, your company is not willing to accept change. And aminin natin, kahit tayo, we have things na nakasanayan na natin, which may have worked for us in the past. Tayo mismo, we don't want change kasi we already have that comfort zone. So there are projects that require enterprise-wide adoption. Kailangan talaga lahat mag-a-adjust. And this can be done if approached proactively. Change management should not be the afterthought. Organizations that succeed in change management are the ones that involve lahat talaga, all stakeholders from the start, and create a coalition for change. You need to involve all parties. Companies might also seek out HR vendors, madami yan, mga industry players, in making sure that we simplify how you do things. And we're here to assist you, provide change resistance toolkits, and customize case for change by change readiness templates, assessments, implementation, etc. But the question is, why is HR modernization hard? So nabanggit ko rin kanina na very hesitant tayo sa change. Pero ano ba ang ultimate reason kung bakit sobrang hirap ng HR modernization? No? This connects to my opening slide earlier, because HR has always been seen as the cost center. Pag HR cost, pag HR gastos, um, kaya medyo ano nga tayo kaya tayo laging nagkakaroon ng discussion with accounting, with finance Kasi for HR, it always equates to cost, because you need to do things to motivate employees, to improve the workplace, to improve motivation. And this comes with a cost, no? Yung mga year-end natin, mga Christmas basket natin, sports fest natin, lahat may cost. And HR is seen as a fee burner. So ang laging naririnig nating term, no, from the beginning of our career, pag HR, especially when we present the request for our annual budget for yung mga strat planning natin, is cost cutting. Ito yung pinaka overused na term na naririnig natin, phrase na naririnig natin pag HR. Cost cutting tayo, mag-adjust tayo dito, tanggalin yan, tanggalin to, bawasan to, and all. And if we do that, how do we modernize the process? Yung current nating process, which is very traditional, ito na yung cost, and you want me to cut costs further. That's the challenge. Now, it's important kasi that we understand what is cost. So how do we define cost? Ano ba yung cost na kailangan nating i-cut? As for Flamholtz, cost is a sacrifice incurred to obtain some anticipated benefit or service. So I'd like to highlight benefit. So if there's cost, dapat may benefit din. Our formula will then be your cost equals your expense plus asset. Ayan na. Ayan na si Sir. Nag-uumpisa na sa math. No, HR, medyo allergic sa mga mathematical symbols. No? But promise it will be really easy to follow lang naman. So cost equals expense plus asset. Okay, so sabi mo, Sir, cost driving modernization is equals to cost, and kailangan kong mag-cut ng cost. So how do we drive modernization? That's the question. The answer is HR effectiveness. You need to make sure that you, your team, your department, the HR department as a whole, is effective on how you drive modernization. And there's benefit, yung nabanggit nga kanina, when you introduce something. HR effectiveness is a measurement. It measures the expenses and asset components of your cost. No, lagi nating naririnig kapag merong town halls, pag merong mga company assemblies, mga quarterly meetings, we always hear that people are our most valuable asset. So, may accounting term tayo doon, no? Valuable asset, sila yung pinaka-importanting asset, which is also a formula of our cost. But how do we measure our assets? As per Lawrence Bossidy, the key to effectively measuring ROI in human resources is by measuring the turnover cost. This is the most effective way of measuring ROI sa HR department natin. Why is it important that we know how to measure ROI? So we can justify um, the cost that is HR. So cost yan, itong ini-introduce mo, that's an added cost to the company. Additional budget ang kailangan ko dyan. But what does the company get out of that? And it's best if you know how to measure ROI and how you present it in such a way na you are effective. You're introducing modernization, you're introducing innovation. So there is an increase in cost, maybe a slight increase, Pero it's important that we know how to measure ROI to support that adjustment and the long-term effect of that. Sabi kanina, the best way to measure is to measure turnover cost. The more na mas maraming umaalis, nagre-resign, the more actually na lumalaki yung cost natin sa company. And here is why. This formula is the reason. So your turnover cost, yung pag-alis ng mga employees mo, resignation, attrition, um, each company would have their own separate term for turnover. The formula for that is the revenue that that particular employee has contributed to the company, less your HR costs and the training costs. I'd like to separate that kasi medyo bulky din ang training cost natin. What are your HR costs? So you have your recruitment costs, the cost to hire the individual or those professionals, madami yan. Hindi free ang recruitment cost. Even if you don't use job boards, you still have an individual spending company hours hiring people, interviewing people. And those company hours equate to cost. You have your wage and payroll cost for the employee, yung mga consumable supplies, yung mga nauubos na supplies natin, especially nung office-based talaga, no, dami yan, paper, pens, ang daming consumable supplies, yung mga nauubos natin. We have our benefits and insurances, which it's also important that it's there because it's also a factor to attract candidates. Without benefits, additional benefits and insurances, kasi meron na naman tayong PhilHealth, SSS, Pag-ibig. But for most companies, they also provide group life insurance, HMO, and many other benefits to their employees to attract the perfect candidate to join the organization. And there are a lot of activity costs then. Some other costs ngayon na work from home ang mga employees are mga internet reimbursement. If you have them work sa office and meron tayong hazard pay, that's additional cost. The cost of procuring and transporting their workstations, their laptops, their desktops, additional cost yun for employees. We also have training costs. And sabihin natin, hindi naman kami nagte-training eh. So wala talagang training cost. That's wrong because when you onboard an employee, the new employee orientation is actually a cost. Yung nag-go on board natin, and at the same time, the employee na nagsa-start ay bayad. So therefore, there are company hours na kinakain. And that equates to cost. There are also a number of mandatory trainings na kailangang attendan. We have Bosch, we have data privacy. Depending on your industry, may mga iba pa yan. If you're in the airline industry, may iba pa. If you're in the manufacturing, may mga mandatory trainings din na kailangang attendan ng maybe a specific number of employees or all of your employees. And there are also optional training for their growth and development. These are all part of the cost, overhead cost of the company. Now I've added asterisk there. There are yung recruitment cost natin, onboarding cost. May asterisk na isa. This means you only compute this once because it happens only one time. While the rest, yung mandatory training natin, yung optional training, you need to cover the last 24 months. There are no law na nagdidictate nito. Just wanted to be clear, but I'm just sharing a best practice for you on how you measure turnover cost. It's also important that you factor a 5-year period. That's why there are companies na nagpo-provide ng sort of quote-unquote retirement program, retirement retention program for their employees as long as they stay for 5 years. Because if your employee um, stays for 5 years, nabawi mo na lahat ng cost mo sa kanya. But if your employee leaves in their 6th month, first year, second year, medyo you're at the losing end because you need to do all these again, thus contributing to your cost. So there are a lot of facets, no, departments in HR. It depends on your organization kung paano yung structure. There really is no um, most effective, proper way of distributing the task for HR. At the end of the day, it depends on the size of your company, your industry. If you're a company of 10,000 employees, maybe in the BPO industry, definitely hiwalay ang recruitment mo, hiwalay ang comp and ben mo, hiwalay ang employee relations mo, hiwalay ang training mo. But if you're a company of 50 employees, usually may isa kang HR generalist, siya na lahat. Siya na nag-hire, siya na nagpe-payroll, siya na nagte-train, siya na nagpa-process ng admin hearing, etc. So it depends. There is no proper way of distributing tasks. And I'd like to talk on some of these facets and how we can make sure that we are effective. We exercise HR effectiveness in these facets. Siguro I'll focus on the top three, which is recruitment, comp and ben, and training. Na almost all, if not all talaga, ng companies meron. Of course, you have a recruitment talaga process at least. Of course, meron kang comp and ben, you have payroll talaga. It's impossible na wala kang nagpe-payroll and training. All the rest, maybe we can discuss it on a separate assembly. But for now, I'd like to focus on the top three. So we have recruitment, we have comp and ben, and training. So for recruitment, ano ba yung mga cost natin? For at least yung mga major cost for recruitment, we have job portals. We have job fair cost, at least before nung everything's normal pa. So we do job fairs, especially if we have tight hiring schedules. But now there I've seen a lot of virtual job fairs. Then we have pre-implement medical examination to make sure na the employees that we onboard are healthy. We also conduct background check. No, for some, si recruiter or HR generalist sila na yung gumagawa nito. But for most, they outsource this to third-party vendors. We also have job readiness assessments. Ito yung mga exams na ginagawa natin to determine kung sino ba yung paano pa natin mas ma-filter out and we get yung final pool of candidates for our interview. There are also companies providing referral incentives, yung mga employee referral incentives, and relocation allowances. Meron din to, especially if nasa niche market ka and sobrang hirap talagang hanapin ng candidate mo. So, but you need them to work on site, but they're from a different area, from a different province. You provide relocation allowances. And I'd like to touch on all of these on how we can be more effective. First is job portals. So there are a number of job portals out there, not really supporting, not really promoting um, um, kahit alin sa kanila. I invite you to check each job portal to see kung paano siya mag-fit sa current requirements nyo, ano yung current functionalities ng mga job portals natin. And of course, ang pinaka-importante is cost. We have JobStreet. Of course, everyone knows JobStreet. We also have LinkedIn, where usually for leadership roles, yan, we also look at LinkedIn. We also look at JobStreet as well. Monster is also making presence in the Philippines. Depending on the number of requisitions you have, the positions you have, they'll give you a rate based on the total number of credits that you'll need. No, this is really good if you've exhausted all possible ways in looking for candidates. But there are also alternative options. No, there are free job portals. Also, just to clarify, not endorsing them, but just sharing best practices. So if you're hiring rank and file roles, you just need a pool of candidates. You can also check out portals where you can post for free. Personally, I've tried all six of these just to maximize yung candidate pool. But there's Indeed, there's Jora, and there's Jubal, where you can post free. Then again, if you've exhausted that and wala pa din, you can check as well yung mga paid job portals natin, which also offer, since they're paid, premium support to assist you in maybe fasten yung parang mas papabilisin natin yung paghahanap ng candidate natin. So there are also job fair cost. Sometimes kapag na-approve yung budget natin for a fiscal year, lahat ng department kailangan na nilang mag-hire agad. Lahat naka-due the succeeding month. No, doon yung bulk kasi lahat okay na-approve na pero kailangan ko agad-agad. So there are times na we need to fill in volume. So sobrang daming volume ng candidates that we also resort to job fair para nandun na yung mga talents, and we just check kung saan sila fit. Mas bibilis yung proseso. So there are also costs involved for job fair depending on the job fair and their rates. Nasa mga ako, I've experienced personally around 20 to 30,000 for job fair. I can't quantify yung materials pa na kakailanganin natin as a company, yung mga brochures, flyers natin, transpo per dime, lahat. Yan, mga transportation of our partners, of our employees, papunta sa venue, etc. These are part of the cost. An alternative to this na pwede rin nating explore would be peso partnerships. No, if you have you can work with peso offices, you can work with local government units. They usually, some of them may job portal then, and these comes free. They also conduct job fairs, no, particularly pag May 1st, yan, kanya-kanyang job fairs yung mga yan at no cost. Their goal is to help the community na mga unemployed to get jobs, and you can partner with them to check out talents in their pool. Marami ding individuals ang nagiiwan ng mga CVs, resumes nila sa government agencies like PESO, and you can check with them if merong magmamatch sa qualifications na kailangan natin. Another is also school partnerships. If you are in the industry of hiring engineers, for example, your company is an engineering firm and kailangan mag-hire ng engineers, then it's also an option to partner with schools that are really good in mga engineering schools talaga. They have an alumni network. You can reach out to them and see kung usually may placement services naman yung mga yan to maximize your pool then. These are free. You can also partner with HR organizations. No, maraming HR organizations out there. There's an annual membership fee, which is very minimal, but the benefit that you get out of that is more than the actual membership fee. And for most, meron din silang placement services to help the market. So wala ring cost yan. You can also market through their portal, their pages, etc. Next would be pre-employment medical. No, this is almost, nakikita ko to siguro sa mga 80% of companies meron talagang pre-employment medical, and the cost would vary kung sino yung clinic na partner natin. The most common is na kailangan i-test is basic 5 plus drug test. And nagva-vary yan from 500 to 900, minsan mas malaki pa. And sino ang gagastos? For most, si company ang gumagastos. Though wala namang law na nagsasabing dapat si company kasi this is part of pre-employment requirements. Pero for most, si company na ang gumagastos. But we're not really sure kung papasa siya sa medical or hindi. So pag hindi siya pumasa, meron tayong additional gastos kaagad sa isang candidate na hindi naman magiging employee. So an alternative to that I'd like to share is talk to your HMO. If you have an HMO provider, talk to them if they can also cover the pre-employment medical. And most naman sa mga alam kong HMO, they do this, and they use the pre-employment medical to serve as yung annual APE ng employee. Since kaka-medical pa lang nga naman niya, he can skip yung APE scheduled for this year. And that's possible. This is also an OSH requirement. If you have been reviewing and attending seminars on OSH, occupational safety and health requirement, then ito, pati drug test is also a requirement. By doing this, you minimize unwanted absenteeism. No, kagaya nga nabanggit kanina ni Globe, it's important to also invest in healthcare, in making sure that your employees are healthy and well so they can contribute and they're present. Background check, it varies depending on your background check vendor and depending on the package that you avail. Pwedeng less than 3,000, 3,000 to 8,500. It depends. Then again, it's a cost then for us. But we need to look at the bigger picture. Yes, there is cost to doing background check, but we minimize turnover. Sa background check pa lang, alam na natin na, okay, meron siyang issue sa previous company niya, meron siyang integrity issue, or meron siyang um, sexual harassment issue na nakita natin at the onset. So while we were impressed with the CV, with the interview, by doing background check, we actually minimize turnover na pwedeng yung issues before or yung mga hindi nga dineclare lumabas. So we will proceed with hiring a better candidate that will stay. Paano kung nilagay niya na meron pala siyang license sa ganito, pero wala naman pala talaga. And we failed to conduct our due diligence. And when na-onboard na si candidate, hindi niya pala talaga alam kung ano yung process na yun which requires that particular license. So eventually, you will pwedeng manan-regularization si candidate, so sorry, si employee, or mag-resign siya because hindi niya talaga naintindihan, which would contribute sa turnover cost natin. That's why we need to look at that as well. Nabanggit ko nga kanina that this is the most effective way of measuring the ROI of HR is to measure turnover and how we minimize that. You also ensure job readiness. Talaga bang meron siyang 3 years of managerial experience in this, maybe in IT sa previous company niya, or sinabi niya lang yon, baka IT staff lang pala siya sa previous company pero dineclare niya lang, nag-over-declare siya na IT head siya doon. So you also ensure job readiness, which would minimize yung training time. And yun nga, nabanggit ko kanina yung mga possible cases na minimize din yung mga administrative conference natin, mga NLRC cases natin eventually, which kakain din ng company hours. So yes, there is cost to doing background check, especially if you have a third-party vendor conducting background check. But we need to look at the bigger picture and how we can be more effective sa overall turnover cost natin sa company to contribute sa HR ROI. So there are also job readiness assessments, may mga exams kang ginagawa, bilingual exams. This is also good because you minimize the turnover, you minimize the onboarding time, and you ensure effectiveness. Now, we have referral incentives for employees. It varies. Most company ang ginagawa nila to as part of their recruitment cost. Kaysa mag-post ako sa job portal na ganito yung cost, bakit hindi na lang ako magpa-employee referral system for the same amount? At least all of my employees get to be ambassadors and sila mismo na-brief na nila yung candidate kung ano ba talaga yung ginagawa sa kumpanyang to. And na-filter na nila kaagad kung sino yung mag-fit for a certain role. There are also flyering, mga cost of pagpa-flyers, may kita nyo yan when I was at BGC, marami yan. Mga baba ka lang ng sasakyan, may nag-aabot na, lalo na pag mukha kang mag-a-apply there my cost actually to doing that. An alternative to this is headhunting or working with a headhunting partner. So by working with a headhunting partner, you can make sure na minimize yung time natin to scan all the CVs, to go through all the candidates na hindi naman mag-fit sa qualifications. You can leave the job to your headhunting partner as long as you make sure na no hire, no pay yung agreement nyo. So hanggat wala ka na hire, walang babayaran si company. So you can focus on other initiatives for recruitment. It's also important that you look at the guaranteed period. Ito yung pinaka-warranty mo to make sure na kung sakaling umalis man si employee within a certain number of months, papalitan ng headhunting partner mo at no extra cost. So hindi lolobo yung cost mo, yung turnover cost mo. You can also work with freelance recruiters. Marami yan. Just I've seen a lot sa mga HR groups. No, you can also work with freelance recruiters, mga expert talaga, independent consultants in the recruitment field to help you with your vacancies on the same term siguro of no hire, no pay. By doing this, you actually ensure longer tenure kasi apart from sa inyo, meron ding mga nag-ensure that these candidates stay and they fit talaga sa current na role, sa current na requirement of the uh, company. And there's relocation allowance na nabanggit ko nga kanina. This can vary, depende sa inyo. Some binibigay lang to as allowance. Some naman sila talaga yung maghahanap ng hotel, staff house for their employees, which they pay on a monthly basis. A tip to that is you can try Airbnb. Um, May mga options doon na papasok sa budget nyo kung paano mas ma-maximize yung cost. Maybe long-term rent on a certain space within your area. It varies. The cost would vary then. So those are the things for recruitment. Since we've talked about outsourcing earlier, I'd like to help out. I've received a lot of questions on recruitment outsourcing, and I'd like to address them really quick lang. Kailan nga ba dapat ako as a company mag-outsource ng recruitment ko? So, if there are really urgent requisitions and hindi talaga kaya ng team or ng current manpower na ma-meet yung deadline, then maybe it's time to seek help. If you need help in management or key roles, kailangan mag-hire ng mga C-level, director, vice president, which you don't have experience in the past or you don't have the network to look for them, then you can try outsourcing recruitment. If there are also hard to fill vacancies, no, you need an IT individual with 15 years of experience, may solid understanding sa cryptocurrency, living in ganito, may background sa pagsa-startup ng isang company. Mga ganon, yung talagang sobrang hard to fill na vacancies, then it's worth considering na seek din ng assistance. And lastly, kung volume talaga yung requirements natin, this is very present for BPOs. You have a new client, you have a new campaign or account, and you need to hire maybe 400 in the next 30 days. Kahit 10 ang recruiters mo, it can be a challenge to hire all 400 kasi yung 400 na yun na yung pasado eh. Hindi yun yung mga na initial na final exam. So if you have volume requirements, it's also the best time to consider recruitment outsourcing. The question now is, who do I outsource my recruitment to? So madami yan. It depends on the vacancy, on how long you need them, kung gaano ka-critical yung work, madaming factors. One is a manpower agency. Ito yung the usual na instead of you hiring your own guard or housekeeping, yan, marami pang ibang roles. You work with manpower agency. So what they do is sila na yung magsosource, sila yung mag-hire, sa kanila yung contract, sila yung magpapasweldo. Pero sa'yo magseserbisyo. So we'll provide services to you and you pay them the salary of the resource plus an admin fee, no, minimal admin fee. Um, you can also work with headhunting firm or executive search firm. So ang difference nito is sila yung magsosource ng candidates for you, pero at the end of the day, ikaw pa rin yung mag-hire, contract mo pa din, ikaw yung magko-compensate, and of course, ay yung provide ng services. Walang monthly service fee, isang fee lang, one-time hire fee or placement fee or search fee or iba-iba yung tawag dyan. More of like an extension lang of your sourcing or recruitment department. Placement agency naman mostly for abroad, no? If abroad yung mga vacancies natin, you work with a placement agency, may mga placement fee na talaga. Pero for this, yung candidate ang nagso-shoulder nung cost, yun yung placement fee na tinatawag. So these are some of the HR recruitment outsourcing firms wanted to put it out there para maiwasan din yung confusion on manpower, on headhunting, on placement. And why? So here's the why as well. You'll have access to highly qualified pre-screened candidates, pool of readily available talents because they've been doing that and they have talents available. They also understand your requirements and will save you on turnover cost. Just reminding everyone again to make sure na itong dalawa, the service fee and the guaranteed period, ito yung pinaka titingnan natin when we look at proposals. Magkano ba ang one-time service fee ninyo for headhunters? And gaano ba kahaba yung guaranteed period or yung warranty natin if in case na the employee resigns or na-terminate? Proceeding to our next department, I'll make it very quick na lang. Medyo nag-overtime akong konti. So, costs sa Comp and Ben, no? You have your timekeeping and HRIS. You have the salary structure. I'd like to give a little insights on that. You have incentives and raffle prizes, your HMO, your group life insurance, retirement plan, whether early or yung mandatory retirement plan natin. So for timekeeping and HRIS, it depends. Again, look at them, compare apples to apples. Paano siya mag-best serve sa interest ng company. The cost is per employee per month. No, it varies. You also have biometric devices. No, at least before. Ngayon, some of our clients na kausap ko, nag-shift back sila sa Bundy clock from biometrics kasi nga pag biometrics nasi-share yung finger. So nag-biometrics lang sila and then they keep the time cards. There are alternative options, but again, with limited functionality. So if it's a small company pa lang naman, hindi pa naman maraming modules yung kailangan, then you can try free HRIS software out there. Madami yan. You can also work with payroll outsourcing partners na para sila na lahat nung gagawa ng payroll natin from computation, government compliance, etc. If you really need an HRIS system, then consider yung system na nandun na lahat. It's an all-in-one system. You have your HRIS there. Your applicant tracking system is already there. Your performance management system is already there. Maybe your learning management system is already there. Isa na lang siya para hindi separate yung cost mo for everything that you need. Provided na essential talaga to sa organization natin. Look for an HRIS na nandun na lahat ng modules natin para isang cost na lang. On salary structure, talking muna on payroll outsourcing. This is the number 2 top question that I receive. When should you outsource your payroll? One, if startup pa lang. So as a startup organization, you want to focus on marketing on growing the business. So the clerical part, administrative part, but still equally important na administrative part of payroll should be under, it's better if you outsource it. If less than 100 employees, hindi pa naman ganun kalaki, you can also consider payroll outsourcing kasi usually pag ganito, may generalist lang sila, isa lang, na maraming ibang ginagawa. So you can consider na at least yung payroll side na outsource na. Or if we really want, it's a complex pay structure, may mga employees ka na weekly sinasahuran, meron kang bi-monthly, may monthly ka, iba yung process pag managers. There are companies na ganun very complicated ang payroll process. And instead of hiring, well, it's best if you have the budget to hire someone na talagang XX number of years experience in payroll. If you'd like to save, you can also consider payroll outsourcing, and you'll have a fraction of the cost for the same payroll experienced payroll expert. And if you also want to automate your processes, no, payroll has been a very manual process, and if you want to automate that, then it's also worth considering na mag outsource ng payroll natin. Question is who? May dalawa. You have payroll outsourcing partners. You pay fixed monthly fee. They take care of everything end to end, even the government compliance, statutory SS, Pag-ibig, PhilHealth, and BIR. There are also yung mga HRIS providers, mga cloud-based HRIS providers. While they have the HRIS na system, they can also do yung payroll outsourcing for you. Why is you can ensure accuracy of your journal ledgers na laging kailangan ni accounting. You'll work with payroll experts. It also provides sort of a check and balance, my third-party auditing on your payroll process. And again, mentioned earlier, it saves you on company time. So on salary structuring, I'd like to share something that I've shared with one of our clients in the past. One way to make sure na mas malaki talaga yung take home ng employee is by maximizing yung mga de minimis natin. Sayang din naman kasi. So per Train Revenue Regulation 11/2018, adjust na nag-adjust na yung de minimis natin. So may mga iba yung rice subsidy nila naka 1.5 pa rin, pero 2,000 na siya. So might as well maximize medical cash allowance. It's 1.5 per quarter. Rice subsidy is now 2,000 per month. Your uniform allowance is 6,000 per year. And your laundry allowance is 300 per month. These are non-taxable. So while we cannot adjust yung current basic nila because that would mean diminution of benefits, what we can do is if we have our annual salary increase, instead of putting it sa basic nila, then maybe we can put it sa allowance nila para mas malaki pa rin yung overall na take home ng employees. Another thing, tip that I'd like to share is to convert salary to fixed quarterly bonuses. So if, example, meron kang mga maybe rank and file na talagang fixed lang yung sweldo in a month, walang incentives, walang bonuses, we can maximize yung 90,000 na cap for bonuses. So instead of, say, kunyari, meron kang 25,000 per month yung sahod ng employee, yun ang basic niya, ang annual niya is 300,000 plus 13th month pay of another 25,000. Instead of this, you can consider na 20,000 yung basic niya, and yung tigfa 5,000, you put it as part of a fixed bonus which you give quarterly. So ang total niya para at the end of the year, ang annual niya is still 300,000. Ang 13th month pay is 20,000. It depends, pwede yung gawin 25, depende sa inyo. Pero yung 60,000 na nasa bonus part now becomes non-taxable. So at the end of the year annualization, mas malaki pa rin yung kinita ng employee. Again, this is not applicable na gawin if ngayon na. You can adjust yung basic ng mga employees natin to do this. But maybe in the future or in your next set of employees or when you do a salary increase, an adjustment to salary, or when you promote your employees, you can consider this, especially kung wala naman silang nakukuhang incentives or bonuses kasi meron tayong allowance na 90,000 na pwedeng non-taxable. So in this case, you have 60,000 for bonuses, 20,000 for 13th month. That's 80,000 of non-taxable na part ng compensation ng employee. So not really saving for the company, but your employees will be happy because they will be earning more kaysa napupunta sa tax. So there are also incentives and raffle prizes. For this, my tip is to consider a reward system platform. Um, yung mga reward system platform, kaysa nag-iisip pa tayo kung, okay, mayroon akong birthday, so kailangan ko magbigay ng ganito, birthday, maybe birthday gift to my employees. Nag-anniversary, kailangan ano na kayang bibigay ko sa mga employees ko na nag-anniversary or kung ano pa man. Consider a reward system platform, no? So points based siya, you can just give, okay, tuwing birthday I'll give you 5,000 points, tuwing anniversary I'll give you 10,000 points. If you win sa sports fest, I'll give you 8,000 points. Which they can convert into merchandise. So ang daming platforms dyan. We'll be sharing some of them. You can check them out and see kung paano mag-fit. No, there's gifted, there's high rewards, there are also a lot of other platforms na pwedeng makatulong sa atin on how we can introduce modernization, especially sa incentives natin for our employees and rewards as well. For HMO, ako personally, just my personal opinion, I recommend that you work with a broker. Kapag kasi you work with a broker, you'll gain comparative report from multiple providers kaysa isa-isa lang. At the same time, they will negotiate on your behalf kasi they're experts na on what they do. And you can also improve the coverage. You can get better discounted rates. And you can also comply with kung ano man yung OSH requirements ng industry nyo. So just check. You can always work with a broker. Check then directly, have apples to apples comparison. And from my personal experience, mas nakakatipid talaga with better benefits whenever I work with a broker. For group life insurance naman, instead of paying annual expiring premiums na nagbabago-bago yan, iba-iba yung rates ng life insurance natin. Every year we renew. That's good. Pero an alternative to that is consider yung mga non-expiring insurance, yung nagtutuloy-tuloy pa din. Some of them may retirement factor pa na pinoprovide ng mga insurance company. So you don't have to renew year by year. Magpapa-evaluate ka na lang and then yun na yung adjustment na gagawin pero hindi nag-expire. So for retirement plan naman, this is the mandatory retirement plan in compliance with RA 7641. This is actually mandated by law for private companies 60 years old with at least 5 years of experience. Consider setting up a retirement fund to manage cash flow and allocate funds properly. Hindi yung pag mag-retire na tsaka mong problema kung saan mo kukunin yung pera. So, maaga pa lang, work with a bank or an insurance para mas na ma-manage yung funds. And while waiting for retirement, in a way, nag-grow din yung funds natin. You can also maximize interest earning retirement fund, which can be used to compensate life insurance costs actually. you can also ensure that that is tax qualified. No, I know some insurance companies who also provide retirement plan na tax qualified, so walang taxes. Two things to look at when considering a retirement plan is kung PAS-19R yung valuation method na ginagawa, and kung IAS 19 compliant ba siya. So these are two things that you need to look for. If you have this, then you're good to go. Okay yung life insurance vendor natin. All right. And lastly, I'd like to talk about training and development, but I'll make this one really, really quick kasi sobrang overtime na tayo. So I'd like to start with this meme. CFO asks CEO, what happens if we invest in developing our people and then they leave us? So yan ang laging maririnig mo sa finance. So nagpapatraining tayo ng employees, tapos iiwanan din tayo. Ang sabi ni CEO, what happens if we don't and they stay? So hindi tayo nag-training, nagstay nga sila, hindi naman tayo nag-training. So anong mangyayari? So this is something to ponder on. That training is really important, and how we measure that is the return, which is the benefit, um, over the investment or the cost. That is your ROI. So in a call center setup, siguro while most ng mga industries na kasama din today is a BPO, how you measure ROI is, say, before training, the agent count, 30 ang employees mo. Ang average time per call is 10 minutes per agent. So that's 45 calls per agent on a day. If ang basis mo is revenue per call, pero ang mini-measure lang, ang babayaran lang ni client, is 7 minutes, then $7 yung bayad niya. Example, if in excess of 7 minutes, hindi niya babayaran. So the maximum revenue that you get is 315 per agent or 9,450 in USD. Pero you've identified the issues. Bakit nga ba dapat 7 minutes lang yung calls pero lumalampas sila? Ang na-identify mo is poor comms, poor communication skills, so nagko-contribute ng longer calls, and you recommended as the training head or trainer na kailangan ng effective communication and call handling training na nagko-cost ng say 45,000 pesos for 30 packs. So you have 30 employees. After training, you've again measured it, and na-meet nga na 7 minutes na lang ang average time per call. So nakakapag 64 calls na per agent in a day. Because of that, 448 na dollars ang nakakontribute ng kada agent, which contributed to $13,440 in daily revenue. So your daily revenue before training is at 315. After training is now 448, with a difference of 133 or approximately 6,650. Your trading cost is 45 at 30 packs. Nasa mga 1.5 per packs. If you adjust that, yung ROI mo is 5,150. Mas malaki. So, na-justify natin. But then again, when we do this, it's important that we have figures and we have measurements in place para we can always introduce this to the management. So, in order to build a rewarding employee experience, you need to understand what matters most to your people. So not just kung ano yung best for the company, but also what's best for your people. So while some ng mga shift na to might seem a little daunting at first glance, um, it seems that the effect naman are largely positive. The more modernization trends we're seeing today are opening opportunities for organizations to strengthen their talent management and have an overall constructive feedback sa business. At the end of the day, while the company is here to survive and make sure na talagang stable, we also want our employees to stay with us and we should introduce modernization, innovation to impact yung overall employee experience para makatulong din sila sa atin. So thank you very much. If you have further questions or you need any HR assistance, need to outsource anything regarding HR, feel free to contact us. These are our contact details. Chester?
Ayan, I think I have a better microphone now. Do I sound more clear now?
Yes, yes, thank you. Crystal
Okay.
clear.
That's great. That's great. Okay, so before we end the Miguel session, feel free to ask any questions regarding the topic. We have a few questions here from Ora Manatad. The question is, how do you compute revenue contribution of employees in the support group?
Okay, thanks for the question, Aura. So, just making sure I understand the question. Um, is this the support group, meaning like parang shared services? Maybe ang HR supporting multiple companies, or support group meaning the IT HR admin. So I'll answer both. So if the HR department is a shared services team, meaning it's a group of companies, isa lang yung HR team, and how do we compute for revenue contribution? It's actually the same. We follow the same formula because we really don't compute it per department, but we compute it per employee. Now, sa kabila naman, if you're referring to the support group, meaning yung IT natin, yung finance, yung facility siguro, which are not HR, kasi kanina we've discussed purely for HR. For support groups, IT, admin, facilities, accounting, we compute for revenue based on the same. If we're introducing training, we also use that because we don't just send out trainings here and there. It's important that we do a training needs analysis. Hindi lang, okay, wala silang training for the last 3 months, pa-training nga ako ng ganito. Doesn't, should not, it should not work like that. Dapat may needs analysis ka muna, ano ba yung current challenges ng department, para meron ka ring way of measuring. And then, because of this training, ito yung masosolve niya. And then you measure it again afterwards. That's how you compute for the contribution and ROI then of support group. Chester.
Okay, thank you very much. No? Again, that is training effectiveness. No? So hindi lang talaga window shopping kung ano yung magandang topic no na training, but it's
Tama.
really a need no ng company. So again, that's a very eye-opening talk. So I guess no sana itong session na to Mikel was able to break the fear and doubts no, of outsourcing kasi the fear of outsourcing is parang tinatransfer natin lahat and parang of course, yung responsibility and accountability parang maiiwan. So again, so if you're interested no to outsource your HR management and want to know more, so feel free to visit the website of Circa Logical Group at www.circalogicalgroup.com. So again, thank you very much, Mr. Mikel Balansag, for this wonderful plenary session.
Thank you, everyone. Looking forward to learning from the other speakers and hearing your thoughts as well. Feel free to reach out to me at any time or contact us. We're here to help. Enjoy the rest of the day.
All right. Thank you.